What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of the Ear Hustling Podcast. We got a larger group today, and it's a pretty cool episode, I think. It's one that's going to get the juices flowing, the creative juices. So, today is dating preferences, and we have a lot of guests on today to talk about it. So, I'm your boy Prince here with my co host.
That's me, but you know what? I don't even want to introduce myself. I want to hear from these guests. You want to introduce them, Prince, or you want them to introduce themselves?
Hey, I think they can speak for themselves. I'll let them start off. You can go ahead first, Eric.
I'm Eric.
Alrighty then. All right, man. A very
Nice to
few
meet
words.
you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
I'll go next. Hi, y'all. I'm Busola.
Hello, Busola.
What's up, Busola? I've seen you before. You look familiar.
Hi, my name is Sam.
Sam, first time guest. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Johnny, you can go ahead. You know, ladies first.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's nice of you being a gentleman, unlike someone else. I won't say who though.
I'm Johnny. I've been on the show a couple of times. These are my favorite guys right here.
Okay.
I feel so special.
I'm Veli, and James and Princeton, they used to bully me when I was a kid.
We're the same age.
Nah, man, y'all used to pick on me, man. I'll never forget that.
It's funny you brought that up because I had a memory last time we saw you that I thought about after the fact, Veli.
Was it the scream?
No, it wasn't a scream.
It was the bear hug, wasn't it?
Wait,
it was a body slam.
Yeah.
I don't remember that either.
Okay,
I remember I fell off the bed.
Let's
Just
suppress these memories.
Repress the memories.
Well,
yes.
Well, Valley, this is a safe place now, so don't worry about it.
Speaking of safe place, so Ear Hustle Podcast audience, we want to let you know that we, based off this week's topic, we wanted to have a safe word for the show. And I'll be honest with y'all, we had a conversation of about 8 minutes talking about what the safe word is going to be, and we had lots of different names, and I forgot what the safe word was. So what did we decide the safe word was going to be?
Safe word.
Safe word.
We got creative. Perfect. All right. So
Yes.
this topic, it might ruffle some feathers. You know, we got some strong personalities here, and that's a good thing. So if y'all hear us say safe word, we're going to abort mission and we're going to go ahead and shift gears and go a different direction. So, for instance, why don't you explain to people what we're talking about today?
All right. So, like I said initially, today the topic is dating preferences. So, I want to go ahead and kind of set the tone with and ask this to everybody. What is your guys' definition of preference? Don't all speak
So
at
let's start
once.
with you. It's gonna be like school now, Prince. We're gonna call on people. But so what's your definition?
My definition of a preference is something that you like over another thing.
Okay.
I agree with
a
that,
pretty good
Lucy.
definition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something that you would like to have, but you don't need to have. So like a standard is different from a preference in my book.
So before we move on, Sam, I like that. What would be a example of a standard? It doesn't have to be yours. What's an example of a standard, and what's an example of a preference?
So I can use myself as an example. A standard is, for me, dating someone, they have to have a job, right? That's a non-negotiable. But a preference would be
Pretty low.
I know, low standards, right? But you'd be surprised, honey. So standard, you have to have a job, communicate well, non-negotiable. But a preference, maybe you're over 5'7". You don't have to be over 5'7". I'm not gonna say no, but I don't need it. It would be nice to have.
Did I hear someone say safe word? Anyway, I think I heard someone whisper that. All right. I appreciate that. Veli, what is your definition? And Prince, you're frozen.
Oh
You might
God,
not hear me say that, but Veli, what's your definition of preference?
man, I told Prince I was probably gonna be bad at this when I came on, but I don't know. See, like the way I thought about the question when y'all, gave it to me, I just immediately thought like kind of like build a bear, like what would be, I guess, the perfect, I guess, girl for me? Like what would I go towards? And I think I did speak to Princeton about it, like I guess going with it. But I don't know. I just think about build what would I guess build around this woman, like how she act, what she look like, just I don't know, stuff like that, I guess.
Okay. So we just compared dating to build a bear. That's awesome. I like it. I like it. John, Johnny, what about you? What's your definition of preference?
I kind of agree with everybody else, but specifically, I think because depending on the content you use in preference, bias, prejudice, people all group that together, which is not preference. In my opinion, is when you have evaluated and actually tested out something different, and you made the decision. This is what I prefer. But to just say I have a preference when you haven't tried or you haven't, how can you say you prefer it if you don't know the alternatives?
Hmm. Okay. All right. And as many of you have seen, my co-host has obviously uttered the word safe word and has left the show. So some technical difficulties, but he'll be back. I'm certain of it. We got good internet here, y'all. I promise we do. Eric, what about you? What is your definition of preference?
I would agree with Johnny's definition. I
Of
honestly
course you
don't
would.
believe and I agree with it, but I think maybe the way that I feel about it is a little different. I agree with the principle. I don't believe a person can say that they prefer something unless they've experienced the opposite of what their preference is. So I don't think that you could just form an opinion and say, "Oh, I don't like this," and you've never tried it. "Oh, I don't like that," and you've never tried it. So I don't think that you can form a preference until you've experienced a multitude of things. Then you can evaluate and say, "Well, I didn't particularly like this. I didn't particularly like that. I like this because I experienced everything."
So, Princeton, I'm not sure if you heard this, but let me just basically sum up the last two people. Johnny gave a great example of what she feels, or a definition of what preferences is, and then Eric just repeated everything she said. So,
That's my preference.
all right, all right, Prince, go ahead. You're back with us. You're
Gotcha.
good.
Gotcha. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
I think I'm good now. So I enjoyed all of those definitions, and I don't think they're the dictionary definition. I did look this up. Is a preference is a greater liking for one alternative over another. So that's just the dictionary definition, but I don't think that necessarily means any of the definitions that people gave were wrong. So I think a preference can mean several different things, but I personally do agree that it just means having a particular something that you like, but it doesn't mean you're opposed to the alternative. So, with that being said, how about we get into some preferences? We'll start with the fellas. Veli, let's start with you. What do you
Oh man.
prefer in a woman?
Yeah. What's your build a bear looking like?
Well, I just knew you was gonna
Yeah,
call me
yeah,
first.
yeah. What's that? What's that? When you go to the mall, yeah.
I'm not gonna look at that store the same ever again.
Okay. Oh man, I'll be honest. All right, let me say this first. like I don't know. When it comes to women, I'm never really like the type of person that's just like, all right, this is exactly what I want. I kind of just whatever comes, I'll, what I'm saying, I'll choose if I like it or not. Like if a girl comes, she tell me, hey, like, what I'm saying, or I just catch a vibe with her and I feel like I like her, then I mean we'll go forward. If not, then what I'm saying, I really don't try to really go off, I guess, of my preferences because that's just I don't know, that's just kind of insane, what I'm saying, to me personally. But I guess the first thing I am looking for, I'm not gonna lie, I am looking to see if she melanated personally. Not to get I guess too offensive, but there are other races I wouldn't mind dating, but one specifically I personally wouldn't. I think we can kind of like, know why. But without me going into it, but that would be it. And then I don't know, just maybe like maybe I guess a preference of mine would be that she's like I just money minded, mainly because I messed with a girl that just really wasn't the best with her money, and it just I don't know, it kind of irritated me. Um and I don't know, just kind of like I don't know, just don't irritate me. Like I feel like I'm pretty simple. Like just don't irritate me. Don't mess up your own money, because that tells me that I don't know, I really can't build nothing with you. And then you good looking, and you just chill, then I mean we cool personally. That's about it.
Fair.
Okay.
Fair. Those are good preferences. Though.
I'm sorry, did you call me?
If your name
What we
is
doing?
that's some good preferences, then yes, he did. But if not, no, sir.
No, I'm sorry, it faded.
I'm just helping
Vaughn,
out, man. I'm just helping.
Thank you, HBO. Help a brother out.
Yes,
Appreciate
you're
that.
quite welcome, sir. Some things never change.
I couldn't hear you. The audio faded. Jeez.
Praise continue, please, sir.
All right, that was a pretty good list. How about let's hear from one of the women, um, Basola. How about you? Sam kind of gave a little bit of her preferences earlier. So what about you, Basola?
Let's see. My preferences
You sound
are.
all dark and like me.
You said what?
I don't know what he said either, Priscilla. But if you want,
Continue.
if you want me to, I can go ahead and put him in the back room so you can't hear anything. I got you.
I can be honest. I'm just
Yeah. Here.
like,
There you go. He's gone. Go ahead.
Wow.
wow.
Oh,
But my preferences,
Okay.
I'm more focused on like personality than the physical. So personality wise, my preference this is gonna sound weird, but I always know I wanted somebody who was smart. I was very serious about somebody who was smart. I don't want to give those smart genes to my. So that was very. But honestly, I wanted somebody who was kind.
Oh, 1 for 2.
And my preference, I wanted somebody with leadership.
Okay.
Like,
What was the last one, Buzzola?
leadership skills, good leadership skills.
Hey, 3 for 3.
Why? My preference was that a guy would at least have to be my height, nothing shorter. I did say that. So that
With or without heels for you?
Just made it.
yeah, without heels. Yeah, without heels, that was a big preference. And I always have preferred Black men, but I was always open to any race. But I did grow up like Southside Clayton County, so I was always around Black people. So
Okay.
Nice. I guess I can go for we're listing our preferences.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So someone who is able to articulate, how they feel. So they are, introspective and they are available to speak on that intelligently. I would prefer that. Again, someone who's taller than me when I'm in heels, specifically when I'm in heels. I prefer someone who has like a beard.
That changes things.
You're like switches things up.
You said someone with a beard?
Yeah, someone with a beard. I think that's attractive. And I prefer someone who is like good with animals or good with kids. That's important to me.
So it could be either or, not both. It doesn't have to be both.
Yeah,
Both.
I was like, is it
Both.
one or the other?
right. I just okay. Both.
Like, those are mine.
Okay.
So I just up with the ladies, I guess. So
Yep. Go ahead, Johnny.
I'm gonna say that honestly, my preferences has changed with my growth. So as a younger person, I had this preference in my 20s, 30s. Now my preference is for someone to
You want me to put him in the back room?
huh? I'm sorry.
You want me to put him in the back room?
Oh, it doesn't matter. But facial hair is a preference of mine to have facial hair. I
Move your hand,
prefer
Eric.
to have somebody that can have a conversation and kind of like the yin to my yang, because be able to how can I say this without making me look extremely emotional, because I am someone who can handle and control their emotions, because I may or may not be able to do that depending on the situation.
I was about to say that sounds like a tall order on the last one, but no, I'm just kidding.
But that's what I prefer. You know, we both can't be yelling and screaming because I'm a natural Virgo. I want to win. So.
All right, Eric, you're last.
Preferences. I want a woman with extensions in her hair, bamboo rings, at least 2 pair. No, I'm sorry, my bad. I couldn't resist that. My tribute to LL. You know what? Preferences. Gotta love kids. Gotta love kids. That was like the number one thing with me, because I do have children, and they can be very emotional. D. Eric and Jordan. Oh, hey, Soleil.
Soleil said Prince don't know about LL.
No, he don't. That's why he was looking confused. Yeah, not from NCIS, not that LLL.
He can spell it. That's it.
Now, Eric, this person, do they have to like their own children?
I would hope they like their own children, because if you don't like your own children, then how are you going to like mine?
That's fair. Yep.
I don't know if that's actually true.
I don't know.
You know what? Well, how about this? Love your children.
Oh,
you have to, be a good parent, a good provider for your children. Which you definitely check that box. As far as like that ride or die with your child, good, bad, or indifferent. Oh yeah, you'll scream and holler and talk about all the things that you won't do, but you make sure that your child is in the best possible position that you can put them in. And I found that
preferences. We're not talking about me specifically, Eric.
Well, I talked about you in this instance specifically. So learn how to take a compliment.
You know what? Real quick before you continue, Eric, I just need to give a special shout out. This show just is really special right now. We have all 3 members of the Golden Girls a part of the show. So one is on the show, and that's Johnny. The 2/3 is Shay producing, and Tanya, the 3rd Golden Girl, is watching the show, and she's shaking her head at somebody.
Safe word.
All right, Eric, please continue.
A person who is an independent thinker, somebody who isn't easily swayed by other people's opinion. Absolutely got to have an independent thinker, even if that means that me and the significant other are butting heads. Is the fact that you can form your own opinions and not being swayed by other people's outside opinions. To me, that's a must. And somebody who's caring, compassionate, and likes to go out and do fun things too.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, go ahead. You had something that you wanted to say?
Nah, not at all.
Did you just call safe word on yourself?
No. I you know what? The limited times that I use my filter, it just kicked in right then. So I'm yeah. Okay. It was nothing bad. It really wasn't, I promise.
Oh, if you promise, we know it was something bad. Because your fingers crossed, toes crossed.
Yep. Eyes too.
Oh gosh.
Prince, go ahead, sir.
I think those are all great lists, but I was just saying, I think those are all great lists, but I think it's time we get into more juiciness in the topic, and I think
Oh
we
boy.
break down some of the preference I heard were things like facial hair, which is nice, good with money, all things like that. So now, even though nobody said it, I would like to know, as far as
Oh,
preferences go, the
wait,
Valley
Prince.
did allude to it a little bit.
Oh, you want me to go deeper?
Prince,
My preferences.
yeah, we got
Oh,
a
you can
question
see
from
my
the.
preference. No, 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 no.
Oh,
Oh,
that's the easy way out. That's a good one.
I'm sorry.
That,
Oh,
that now you've embarrassed her.
I know.
Oh,
She blushed. She blushed.
oh,
Did. So you're gonna answer that, Princeton?
my preference is already here. My preference is already here. Say, is there an issue? I just answered it. I answered it already. Hey, that's not even brownie points. That's how I truly feel. That's how I truly
Princeton,
feel.
you got a career in
So,
politics. You know that.
but I'm gonna thank you, thank you, thank you. Uh,
Yeah, but I
2024, make a vote me right in.
Really? All right, you were
So
asking a
is
question,
it
Prince.
okay to have a preference? Yeah, is it okay to have a preference for A, either light skin versus dark skin, to have the preference, not to only like one over the other? Or is it okay to have a preference of a certain race that's not your own?
can I
Okay,
answer that?
Busola's smiling and laughing, so I got to pick on her. And Eric, we'll come to you next. So, Busola, why
Okay.
don't you kick us off?
I feel like my answer to both those questions are going to be controversial because I don't think it's that okay to have a preference of light skin or dark skin, but I think it is okay to have a preference. I think it's okay to have a preference towards your own race. I don't think it's okay to have a preference for other races, especially like if you're a person of color and your preference is white people. I can get into that like all day, but that is just my. But the thing about light skin versus dark skin, I don't know. It's a very I get it. People do have preferences, but I do think sometimes you need to take a step back and think about why do you have this preference?
mhm.
And within the Black community, it has been seen that like, light skinned people are like put on a pedestal, whether it's because not even just them being light skinned, like maybe they have light eyes, they have looser curled hair, things of that nature. And it's like, do you like them because of their proximity to whiteness? Like, is that why you think they are better than dark skinned people? I don't know. It's just a lot to.
Mhm.
So, Busola, I'm going to jump in for a second, and I think you used a word that I think we kind of can get ourselves in trouble with when we look at it. We kind of all define what preferences meant to us, and you just said better than. So I think we kind of all agreed that preferences doesn't mean that something is better than something else. It's just what you like over something else. So I think we probably, and I'm not correcting you by any means, but I think we should be careful when we say something is better than something else. Because if I tell you my preferences, that's not what I mean. I don't mean, something is better than something else.
If I
I'm
can jump in here with Busho, I agree with her because historically it's layers to this preference and it correlates more with prejudice and correlates more with what is deemed better. So you in particular may not see it that way, but historically for women and men, yes, that's how it is. That historically, the lighter or the close beauty standards to white is better.
Mhm.
And I will also say this as somebody who grew up with social media pretty much their whole life, I have literally seen men say they prefer light skinned girls and they don't like dark skinned girls because they're like ugly, they're roaches, they're,
Mhm.
so I seeing things like that. So that's why it's kind of hard for me to believe like somebody's just like, oh, that's just my preference. Because usually they do see dark skinned women as lesser than. But that's just been my.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear someone today say, I prefer I prefer light skin over dark skin, your mind kind of goes to the things that you've seen throughout your life on social media that someone else said dark women are roaches, as you pointed out. So is it, and this is a total different show in this question, but then it's okay to judge someone that's in front of you today and what they're saying based off of what someone else that's not that person said in the past. So it's okay to bring, I hate to use this word in this context, but it's okay to bring that baggage into today's conversation.
Well, see, I don't think that preferences exist in a vacuum. So, like, if someone is saying, I prefer light skins over dark skins, that's because of their own baggage, right? So, everyone is existing together, consuming media together. You grow up in with your peers together. You've heard your own things, you've seen your own things, you've seen how people are treated based off of their skin tone. So if someone told me I prefer light skinned women or men over darker skinned men or women, I'm not going to say I'm judging that person, but I would definitely want to further that conversation of, well, why is that? You know? Because again, I feel like there's a baggage there in and of itself with that person.
I think that's a very fair way to address it, but I know we're talking about right now light skin versus dark skin, and I'm looking around like, damn, I'm the only light skinned person, so I'm gonna shut up on this part real quick. Um, but Eric, you were gonna share something before we went down that path.
A lot of my preferences are based on personal opinions, personal experiences. So when I say that my preference for a certain type of woman, as far as physical stature, um, it's based on experience. I may have favored a particular, you know, a particular complexion based on experience of whether I was treated well or whether I was treated badly. It influences your preference.
Mm-hmm.
Everything isn't always physical when we're talking about preferences. It's rare that we get into a deep discussion what formulated our preference, but the whole light skin, dark skin thing, I've had positive and negative experiences with both. So I really don't have a preference in terms of skin color. My experience with that is you really can't form a solid opinion without being biased unless you've experienced everything. So when someone says, I prefer light-skinned women over dark-skinned women, all right, how many dark-skinned women have you date? How many light-skinned women have you date? What were the, is it just physical? What is it that's leaning you one towards the other? So that's a very broad question and very hard to answer, because honestly, most people aren't going to be brutally honest that preference might have been because of a negative experience with a particular person of a particular skin color.
Something I find a little interesting is, and here I am chiming in again. What I find interesting when we went around and talked about our preferences, I don't recall anyone talking about light skin, dark skin. Yet when we opened up the conversation about preferences, this is the first thing we came to. So I find that kind of interesting. So and maybe no one's going to admit to it now, but does anyone have preferences on light skin versus dark skin?
Well,
Valley, you being real quiet over there, but Johnny.
I won't say that. I think I'm more interested in what does that person consider what is light skin, dark skin. I've had a conversation where myself, I personally thought that I was dark skinned. I talked to some people and they feel like, well, you're brown, and I go, okay, so what does that mean? So what do you mean light skin? Oh wow.
That's light skin and that's brown.
Yeah.
And that's my preference. So continue, Johnny.
Brownie points.
So, if you are a person of the same, I guess, and we're going to use culture, right? Um, but you're saying culture, or I guess you want to say race, which is not the same, but people use it interchangeably. That if you're both around the same complexion, and then you're saying somebody that's lighter or darker than you, that's really deep rooted in something else like colorism. And to be, there is something behind that. So, it's just my opinion.
Interesting. Okay. So Veli, like I said, you got real quiet over there, sir. So let's come to you on this light skin, dark skin. What are your thoughts? Because you said you wanted a woman that was melanin. So what you got to add?
It's crazy that we're talking about this because I was just talking about this on stream yesterday or like 2 days ago. So personally, I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm gonna just keep it a buck, and if y'all can throw out the safe word if y'all want to. Personally, I do kind of, I guess. I was talking to Princeton about this too, but I said that I've always kind of wanted to marry a dark skinned woman. You know what I'm saying? I always wanted to marry like a girl that was, dark skinned. And I mean darker than me, like charcoal dark. And not only that, I said I wouldn't mind if she would be like Jamaican, Haitian, West African, whatever. And the reason behind that is because I don't know, when I was going to school in Atlanta, I kind of agree with how you say your girlfriend name, Kristen? Basola. I agree with her. As far as like, I don't know. I'm the type of person where I'm kind of quiet and I sit back and watch people. So like, I always kind of seen light skinned girls personally picking on dark skinned girls, and I don't know. I always kind of had a thing for dark skinned women. Even my mom. I'm not gonna lie. I think she a little bit kind of like baited me into it as I was younger, but even as I got older, I kind of like dark skinned girls, and I just I just the reason why I was smiling so much when y'all was saying stuff is because I just told this story on stream. I had a girlfriend and she was dark skinned, and I remember this light skinned girl. It just so happened to come up in class. I don't even know how it came up in class, but the topic of my girlfriend ended up coming up in class, and basically everybody just started swarming around and just begging and asking to see my girlfriend. So I showed them my girlfriend, and immediately a light skinned girl tells me that my girlfriend is ugly and she dark skinned. So, it's just, I don't know. It's just interesting to see, and it's I guess like the ironic thing about it is, even at that moment, like her male friends, she had 3 dark skinned male friends, and I remember them. I ain't even say nothing about it. I was just like, all right, whatever, because I try not to, I guess, like argue or just like even argue with women. I just kind of let them have it. But I just remember right after they said that, she said that, they was just like, yo, his girlfriend look better than you, and they're her friends. But it's just, I don't know. That's a really touchy subject. People get really offended easily, and you know. But that's just again, like Eric said, it just kind of goes on your life experience, and like what you see and what you notice. Like, because even Kodak Black, love him as an artist, but he said he prefer light skinned women over dark skinned women because that's just like they a little bit like, I guess, softer, or it's like they not aggressive or something like that. But I don't know, man. I don't really agree with that personally. Like, I feel like you can kind of make a girl, uh, you can make your girl a girl that you, whatever you trying to do with her, you kind of make her into what you want, because I mean, essentially, she kind of follows the man. Not in a way of like she follows him, but like the man leads the household. So like, if you want your girl to be like, soft, you get her be soft and submissive or whatever. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But then again, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna sit here and cap like I got a whole bunch of relationship experience. But that's just what I think and what I see from just watching all my siblings have relationships, and even my dad and my mom.
So my question with all that, because it seems to be that the consensus is that since it's based in colorism and previous experiences, that's why it's more problematic to have this attitude towards a preference of light skin versus dark skin. Why is it okay to have a height preference? Like Sam, for example, you said you prefer guys that are taller than you with heels on. How come that's okay?
Well, because I'm 5'3".
Okay.
Yo, that's crazy. Everybody's taller than you.
That's good.
That's crazy.
You get a pass.
At least she ain't say 6'3" though. Like at least she ain't say 6'3", because I ain't gonna lie. I feel like most girls, like, you know what I'm saying, around me and Princeton age, they'll be like, yo, he gotta be 6'3". Like, you know,
6'3" or nothing. I'm just like,
yeah.
Let's be real.
But why is a height preference okay though? But it's like,
because it's something that I would like, but it's not a standard that I'm like, if you're not this tall, I'm not gonna date you. I'm not excluding people from that, that possibility of dating them. It's just, if I can, like Belly said, build a man, that's probably what I would include if I could build a man. Yeah.
So if someone was to say that I prefer light-skinned women over dark skin and it's not a standard, that would be okay?
I think that's still rooted in like colorism. I don't know what the height thing would be rooted in.
Heightism.
Heightism
is though. Okay, how do I explain this? I feel like I said, everybody has preferences, and I feel like as long as you don't put down people, then it's okay. Like, I do think it's wrong if a girl's like, of course I don't want a short dude, like they're, this and that, like that's a terrible mindset. But if they just state their preference, like, yeah, like 5'7", just the same way like how men will be like, oh, I want a girl who's curvy or skinny, as long as they're not like trashing bigger girls or like really skinny girls or things like that, like, just state your preference and keep it moving. That is like my mindset.
So basically, like, a woman just basically can't hit them with you got a Napoleon complex, like you short and you angry all the time and like that.
You know what? I was just about to bring it up because a lot of women, well, some women, I can't say a lot, some women do feel that men have Napoleon complexes. They're out, ladies, you can boost your height up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 inches if you want, depending on what kind of shoes and boots you wear.
12 inches is crazy.
I mean, and
those are stilts.
Yeah, just like the eyelashes, but that's a story for another day.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God.
But yeah, but for some ladies though, it's a feel of security too. They feel that if they're with a shorter man, and this is just from what I heard from like my sister, like if I'm with a shorter dude, she was like, if something jump off, I feel like I gotta protect him if I'm taller than him. So, ladies, they have their reasons. Me being a taller guy, I've never really had to, I guess, worry about that. But let's see, what did Soleil said? Okay, don't you dare cover the eyelash. Soleil, your eyelashes are on point. Your eyelashes don't look like what do they call those, like caterpillars?
Oh no.
So no, so your eyelashes look perfect. I saw the pictures of the trip, that you made. Your stuff was on point. But no, some ladies think that it's just like a feel of security that you're with, a person that's taller than you. I hear more women with the height preference than the weight preference. So I'm just kind of curious now. How do most women feel about a weight preference if you're, a thick girl and a guy is like slim? We really don't hear too much about that. Is that a preference, like in the ladies community, or is it just you just take it, take the person for the height? How does that work?
I don't know about that, but I want to say that I think that the topic as far as light skin and dark skin and is a little bit different from saying race, but it's built on morals, right? So morally, is that morally right to say that I prefer this person because of their color of their skin, if it's rooted in some sort of issue?
Well, I think that's key. If it's rooted in some sort of issue, then yes, morally it's wrong.
Right.
The funny thing is, Shan, I've had conversations about my preferences, and we peel back the layers, and you know, when I'm asked, you know, why do you prefer this, I'm like, I don't know, I just do. And then we peel back layers, it's like, oh, you know, it's probably a little bit more there, you know, whatever. So I get that. What I wanted to ask though, Veli, you said something, and I'm so sorry to go back so far. You said you prefer dark-skinned women. So my question to everyone else is there an issue with him having a preference of dark-skinned women?
To me,
No.
because like
Y'all can be honest. It ain't gonna hurt me.
on the spectrum of like dark-skinned women are more, or dark-skinned people in general are more oppressed, and they don't even get as much recognition. Like even in Hollywood, they were like, we're just now seeing like a lot of like dark-skinned actors. So I don't think there's anything of having a preference towards the like outlier or towards something that's not seen as usually the beauty standard, you know? That's my personal.
Okay, Sam.
I'm sorry.
No, Sam. What are your thoughts?
Oh, it just seems, I guess, like the intention, and like, I guess it goes back to like that moral question of, you know, is there something underlying that preference? And I don't know, Veli, but he seems, you know, genuine in his preference. So that doesn't seem problematic to me.
So if he would have said, I prefer light-skinned women, would that have been an issue?
I don't, as long as his intention, I feel like is genuine, you know, I don't really see an issue with it. Would I question it? If I'm being completely honest, would I be like, I wonder why? Yes, I
But
would.
you didn't question him preferring dark-skinned women.
No, I didn't.
Is
I
it
think
because of
that's
the
a
story
problem.
though? Is
I'm
it because
sorry?
of the story?
It's because of the story. Yeah. Yeah.
See, so, and Johnny, we had a very, very, very in-depth conversation when Prince and I were telling you about the show. I'll say Prince was telling you about the show. And with one thing that we said, we asked, and I want to ask the group this question: if a black man preferred white women, is that an issue? And so you kind of answered this earlier, but
That's the issue.
that's an issue.
Yes.
But if a black man preferred a black woman, that's not an issue.
Yeah, why would that be? Like if you prefer your own race.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem if someone in your race, if you're like, I prefer to date someone in my race, I don't really see that as an issue. But if a white person was like, I prefer to date specifically people of color, or specifically this race of people, that would be weird to me.
So why is it an issue to have, we started this off with the definition of preferences, liking one alternative over another. Why is it an issue just to have a preference? Not to say if I'm black and I have a preference for white people, for white women, that I won't date black women, but that's just my preference. Why is it an issue to like something over something else?
Well, I mean, I think, again, we're talking about in particular color and race. Okay. So if we were talking about candy bars, right? Okay. You may like several different candy bars and you prefer one another. It's not deemed as a big deal. Okay. So you like this candy bar more than other. Now you're talking about actual race and skin color and everything. And you're saying that you prefer something that's the opposite of you. Why? I think the thing behind it is why. Like, why do you prefer that? And
So
if I'm what the issue is.
So if I'm skinny and I prefer bigger women, is that an issue? That's opposite of what I am.
Again, it will go, why do you because you think bigger, what is your ideology about bigger women?
That's just my preference. I like the look of them more.
But you have a reason why.
Keep them warm at night.
There's a reason why you formed it somehow, because of something. And that's what I think the point is.
It could be more appealing to you, attractive level. It could be more attractive to bigger women are attractive to some men more. And is that an issue that's more attractive to them, to have a bigger woman than a smaller woman?
No, but we're again, the issue again, I think we're talking about why. If you're making it why, because you have some kind of stigma or ideology about bigger women or about lighter women or about white women, yes, there's an issue.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like
I'm just saying the
You know?
why is the attractive level. Let's say that is the why. It's nothing less, nothing more than I find them more attractive.
Why?
Yeah.
That is the why.
Okay,
I
so-
find them more attractive.
So
Why?
if I could chime in, Johnny, after you're done, I've got something I'd like to say.
Well, Soleil real quick said, I think the point is about fetishizing.
Yeah.
Your
Fetishizing?
preference may be based on a fetish.
Yes.
You know, but what I question is, and I know there's a lot of questions being thrown around here, and Johnny definitely wants you to finish. What I question is and Shay even mentioned, but there's still a why behind that. And I get that. There's why. But what I question is, when I asked if a black man preferred white women, is that an issue? The consensus was yes. If a black man preferred black women, is that an issue? Basola specifically said, why would that be an issue? And I get that. But my question is why do we ask why for one way but not for the other? I personally feel, and I mentioned this to Johnny a couple of days ago, I personally feel we have issues with preferences when we're on the short end of it. That's my personal opinion. When we're slighted, you know, I've had women tell me before that they prefer a dark-skinned man. How dare you? That's my response. A woman told me before, I've heard this before, I prefer a man who's skinny. I ain't skinny. How dare you? I felt slighted over that. You know, Busol, you're a darker skinned woman. The women on here are darker skinned women, right? So it's interesting you guys feel, I won't say you feel slighted, but you have a concern or you have an issue when if someone was to say, I like light skinned women, but there's no question of why if they say I like dark skin, because guess what? You got a chance. So you're not slighted on that.
You kind of just answered your own question. You said you felt slighted because you were the opposite of that. If you're a black man and a black woman, you're not slighted because you're black too. So
But how come we don't have to ask them why? Why is it that you like black women?
Okay, my thing is, let's say a white person came to me and they didn't like dark skin. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, it's more personal when it is your own culture, I guess you can say. It's not that the fact that I am just dark skinned. It's the fact that you, as a black man, who are probably also brown skin and dark skin, look like you said that I'm not your preference. It's just more unpacking that, like, why somebody whose skin looks like me, they like, why is that? Like, is it because you were taught that like light skinned women were like beautiful and like things like that, and that, you know, dark skinned women really aren't? Is it because you want to have light skinned babies? That's another thing.
Right. Going back to that fetish thing.
Like, what is happening right there, you know?
Yeah.
So it's more or less you're fill in the blank. You're black, you're white, you're whatever. So you're supposed to like what looks like you. So I guess my question then becomes, I'm mixed. My mom was white, my father was black. What am I supposed to like then?
The world is yours.
But if I have a preference, then I just might, depending on who I express that preference to, there just might be a problem.
I guess it just goes back to the why that Johnny was talking about. All of it is why.
So I gotta justify
what unpack those layers. Yeah.
So I gotta justify who I like.
Well, no, it's not about you justifying the reasoning behind you say you had the preference.
That's justifying.
Well,
if I say I like people with 3 big toes, you're gonna ask me why.
Why? Yeah, why?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask myself why. So you like midgets? Why? But you know, that question goes to Soleil too. But I shouldn't have to justify, in my opinion. But I do believe in something Busol and Sam touched on. I do believe in more or less you too, Johnny. I understand the heart behind stuff. And excuse me for what I'm going to say here, but I won't say it all the way. If a white person was to say, I like black men, if a white woman said, I like black men, that's different than saying, I like the N-word.
Well, you said like. We're using the word.
Okay, prefer. Okay, so I prefer black men, or I don't prefer black men. Let's do it that way. If a white woman was to say, I do not prefer black men, that's one thing. If she was to say, I don't prefer the N word, that's a whole different conversation, right? You know, because you're obviously looking down on using that word derogatory. But why do we have to justify? Why do we? Who gave us? I hate to say it this way. Who gave us the power to say, because of what you just said, you have to justify? Or in this case, Veli, you don't have to justify because you said something that was pleasing to my ear.
Well, I feel like if a white woman said, I prefer to date a white man, I wouldn't question that either. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Because
Yep.
it's like it's their same race. That is, I guess, the kind of principle that I'm applying with the black man preferring to date a black woman.
Okay. So if a white woman was to say, I prefer to date a black man, do you question the why behind that?
It would be like,
Yes,
hell,
that
yeah.
sounds like a fetish.
If it's like, I don't know, it's like if it's like the Kardashians, to me that's a fetish.
Oh,
But if
don't even bring up the Kardashians. Every
why
black
is
guy
it
they
that-
didn't dated and damn near lost their mind.
With certain preferences, we have to give people a why, and they have to have a good reason, or we judge them. But then with other preferences, it's like, oh, okay, well, we're okay with this
Yes.
reason. We're okay
Yes.
with it being that way. Like with, once again, I'll go back to this because you guys try and kind of, I feel like, undermine it and feel like it's not on the same level. But in a way, it is. Like, why is it okay to justify a height for a woman having a height requirement? And it's like, okay, well, they can give their why, and I'm okay with this why, but I'm not okay with another person's why for their having a preference of a particular skin color or race. But I'm okay with the why behind a height or a weight or income requirement or having a job. Those
But
whys
see,
are okay.
I don't think that height affects you in the same way that your race does.
Why?
I
I can
disagree.
control my height no more than I can control my race.
Well, how
Exactly.
you move in the world, how you move in the world. You know what I mean? You being black.
Well, I can't be a basketball player.
Well, who says you couldn't?
I
Right,
can't.
but
Let's be realistic here. Let's be realistic here.
Hey, there's been a few. Nate Robinson. Hey,
A couple.
So a few. You
Yeah.
hit the nail on the head, Eric. There's-
I'm
Hey,
just
it's
saying
not-
it does
it-
affect. It still does affect you.
okay. Well, let me
Not
ask
the
this.
same way, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
That's okay. Let me ask this. So, skin color and height are two things that are not controlled by the individual.
Correct.
Okay, so it does seem unfair that a person will slight a person based on two elements that they have zero control over.
Exactly. But we are okay with the height one.
No, I was referring to height and I was referring to skin color. That's why I said the two elements, like height and skin color, zero control over. Does that take away from the quality of the person that you are because of your preference? You could preference yourself right out of a good person by taking that sort of stance. That's just my opinion, and I'm not knocking anybody's opinion on who they want to be with them and why they want to be with somebody. But as I've gotten older, my preferences are the reasons why I was in failed relationships is because of my quote unquote preferences. If I would have been more open-minded about these things, then half the shit I went through in my life, I probably wouldn't have went through it.
I agree with that, Eric. I was talking to my mom about this too. I feel like people, I mean, at the end of the day, it really does suck. Like, we all have our preferences, but I do think people are so stuck on like their standards and their preferences that they do miss good people out there. Like, I was telling Prince about this tweet, how this guy said that if he was in a relationship and his friends and people around him didn't think his girlfriend was a 10, he would break up with her. To me, that's a silly preference.
That's a damn fool.
And it just made me think, like, people are like, even if you have a stupid preference, like, people are just like so caught on their preferences that they will miss out on the person. So I do agree with that, and I don't want you to feel undermined, Prince, about like the whole height thing, because it's I know this came on a radio show in Atlanta, how some big women, they do feel like one of the radio show hosts said that he was disappointed with blind dating. Like, saying things like that, I don't know. It sucks at the end of the day. Like, but I don't know. It's a lot of nuance to it.
I really do think it goes back to married thing. Let's look at the example of a toddler. Does a toddler prefer, let's say they have both parents, a mother and a father, and they go to one more than the other? So are we judging the toddler now because they have a preference, or is it just that that's just what they're doing? Right. So then later on, I mean, it's based on, I mean, a toddler is going to go to whoever. We can't ask that toddler why they prefer. And I think the key is going back to why.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the why. I think just to kind of restate my question or my statement, I think why is okay. You know, if that's what a person prefers to do, anyway. But I think we should ask why on everything. Then we shouldn't just ask why when we're in agreement with it, or if it's in line with our own beliefs. We don't have to ask why. You know, because once again, there may be a immoral reason behind someone preferring someone that looks like me. So I should know that, right? So I think we ask why on everything, not just once again when we agree with it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I feel like what you said is true there. I think that's the biggest thing where for me, I guess I don't get the whole stance on some preferences are okay, but others aren't. Is that, like you said, why do we ask why on certain ones and then not on others? So like you said, I feel like if we kind of kept it the same baseline for every single preference, then I don't feel like it's a big deal. Like as long as we keep the same energy, if you will, with every preference that we have, as far as like, well, where does this preference come from? Where is it deep rooted? Then I feel like it's okay.
No, I don't think it's realistic. I think, like you say, it's got to be deep rooted. You're not gonna make a big deal, give a second thought, depending on what you're saying you're preferring to. We are comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. It's not the same. If you have a preference, you should be able to. I mean, you shouldn't shy away why you have that preference and be able to state why. What I notice is, depending on if it's a taboo preference, then you got no problem with saying, but you haven't said why you prefer a light skinned or a dark skinned person. You haven't said why.
All right. So, for example, the person who has the height requirement, average height for an American male is 5'9". Average height for an American woman is 5'4". So if you're, I'm sorry, I'm just laying these statistics out, and I'm being.
Johnny said it's 5'5" for a woman.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fine. It can be 5'5" for a woman, even though I'm looking at 5'4", but that's okay. So it's okay for a person to state that I've got to be with somebody that's like 6'3", but you're like 5'1", 5'2". But if that same person who you're interested in saying, well, I've got a height preference, I don't date women under 5'3". Does that woman look at that man any different? She may be his preference, but he's not her preference. And it's all based on height.
I think that's fair though, because a preference is something that you would like. And if you are saying, I don't like to date women this short, then you don't like to date women this short. And that's just what that is.
Don't we have to ask them why?
Yeah,
I would be very interested in the why on that, because okay, yeah, I may not be your height preference, but does that make me any less of a quality person because I lack something that I can't control?
Yeah, why?
No.
Well, it would seem in that person's eyes, based on whatever the reasons is, you just disqualified me because of my height. So I can't control.
I'm sorry, Eric. Do you think their answer? Do you think you'll have a rebuttal to change their mind?
You know what? I could just list all of the great qualities that I've got other than height. Okay, I may not have this, but I'm financially responsible. I have a good job. I'm educated, articulate, all sorts of things, good conversationalist. I dance well, all of these wonderful things, but you're going to be stuck on, I'm not tall enough.
So you would want to convince that person to date you?
You know what? I'd be pissed off at that point. I'd be like, screw them. But you know what? I would at that point. It's like, I can't change the height.
But yet you're still going to shoot your shot and tell them all the great things about you.
You know what? For me, it's not shooting a shot, but it's like, okay, you're focused on something. You're focused on a height, but all of these other wonderful qualities that you claim that you probably want in a person, I have. And the one thing that I can't control, all of the other things you can control, finances, education, all of those other things. The two things that are very difficult to change would be your height and your skin color. Skin color you could, but you would wind up looking crazy. But I mean, come on now. That's just kind of unfair. That's
But
unfair to a person.
I feel like height and your skin color are very different conversations. We're comparing apples and oranges here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got a whole basket. We got a whole basket full of fruit in this conversation.
We do, and I feel like we can't really talk about what's fair when what your skin color is directly affects how people treat you, and the conversations and the media that we consume. You know what I mean? It's in every part of our lives.
And I get that,
and I'm not
Sam.
saying that it doesn't affect the way that you move in the world to some degree, but they are not on the same playing field, I don't think.
And Sam, I get what you're saying, and I'm definitely going to yield to Princeton on this, but I want to throw in there my personal belief is, and this isn't bad. It's not bad towards anyone, anyone's specific ideas, but I don't know why anyone would feel entitled to say this is important and this is less than. So to this person, so someone who has an argument about height, that's important to that person. So what gives anyone the right to say, you know what, sit down, little person, that's not important, but the skin color I have, now that's important. I don't think any of us have the right to say that. Yes, it may be apples to apples or apples to oranges, but it's still a fruit, and it's a fruit that's important to someone. Just my personal opinion.
I didn't say it wasn't important at all. I said it was not as important.
So
For you.
So who determines what conversation to have is more important? Who determines that? Where can I find those bylaws?
I don't know who I'm talking about from my personal experience. I don't know. Johnny, Busola, Veli, what do y'all think?
Well, I know saying the fruit, apples, the oranges, and it's all fruit. But when you go in the grocery store, you're not going to find the milk in the meat aisle. Okay, you're just not going to do that. So I don't think you can continue to say, well, this is no, you can't. It's totally separate. It is definitely rooted in some sort of probably negative connotation. Probably, and that's the gist of it.
On the color, I'm just want to clarify on the color side of things,
but
not on the height side of things.
What Preston said, right? Like you said, I think it strikes him if you're not 6'3", and if someone go, oh, I can't talk to you at all because you're not 6'3", they're gonna feel some kind of way about it.
Absolutely.
But it's not the same as your color or race.
But to you, don't we need to make sure that we, because that's on the individual basis.
Anyone, if you ask them, if you're comparing somebody's race, I mean, you can do a poll. Ask somebody if you're comparing somebody's race or height, and is that on the same level?
I don't think it is, but
I don't think they're going to say that's the same level as a moral issue.
They're probably not going to say it because that's not accepted.
Say it's shallow, maybe, but a moral issue. No, I don't think so.
You need to think
it's my
to compare height with, because I'll say this, I'm already biased when it comes to racial topics and things. That holds more to me. But we're talking about we can compare it to other preferences outside of race, and I think that point.
That would be more comparable, you think?
I'm trying to think.
Well, what about a disability?
Oh.
No, I don't think that's comparable.
The height and a disability?
You think they are?
No, I'm asking, what are you saying? The height and the disability or the race?
Yeah, those two.
Okay.
I would say maybe, I don't know, because you can't really change your height. I was going to say facial hair, but you can grow facial hair. You can shave it because height is still nuanced in the way that you can't change it, like you can't change your skin color, you know?
So for disability, like you said, Godmom, is it okay to prefer someone who's not in a wheelchair over someone who is?
But you said wheelchair. It's a lot of disabilities. I meant learning disability.
Specifically. I just meant that preference specifically. Is that? But would that be an issue?
But well,
No.
I still don't see that as the same disability as race. I don't.
Well, they can't control that disability.
You can't control a lot of the things, honestly, and the things you think you can control, you're really not. So I don't think that's what I don't think that's the concept. The concept behind where I was saying about a disability, if that is your preference to not date somebody with a disability, it's going right back to why.
Mm-hmm.
It's going right back to why.
Johnny, you remember? I'm sorry, James. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead, Eric.
Johnny, talking about disabilities, we have a mutual friend that ran across somebody recently that had a disability, but they didn't know until their first visit after talking on the phone. You know which one I'm referring to?
No, but okay.
Somebody pulled up in a car on our mutual friend, and they spoke with her as if they were what we would have perceived as normal. And then when they met for the first time, she discovered that that individual didn't have any legs. So that's a disability. Do you think that that person should have been disqualified because of their disability?
Well, the thing about that particular incident is they lied and said they forgot to say, you didn't forget you didn't have legs. So that was a blatant lie. They lied and tried to hide it. Like, oh, I just found out I didn't have legs. So no, that's not the same. And honestly, that is a true story. That was crazy, but yes, a true story.
Very. But
all right, guys, we are past our time. I believe personally that the conversation is engaging. Just like we kind of figured, we're going to agree to disagree on several things, right? So that's for sure. But it was definitely engaging. I do want to give a special thanks to everyone that was on the show, especially Sam and Veli, first timers. But before we let y'all go, Veli, you are involved in some things that definitely want to give you an opportunity to discuss. And then Busella, if you can follow. Veli, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, you're muted.
All right.
Still can't.
Right. Yep. Still can't. So, Busella, why don't you go ahead while Veli is working that out?
Hey everyone. I have a YouTube. It's called Yours Truly Boosie. You spell Boosie Busie. Subscribe to my channel, and I have TikTok, Yours Truly Boosie as well.
What types of things do you talk about on your YouTube?
On my YouTube, I specifically talk about things that pertain to young adults, whether it's mental health or just self-improvement, things of that nature.
Awesome.
Nice.
Veli?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I stream mainly. I do YouTube too, but I mainly stream. Don't go to my YouTube channel. Twitch.tv/rawvelli RAWVELLI. That's where I be. I usually stream like Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and then like I may choose like one day out the week to stream. But Saturday is the day that I'm like streaming for like 15 hours. I ain't gonna lie. So yeah, just don't go to my YouTube.
So you're telling us not to go to YouTube.
Don't go to my
YouTube, right?
don't go to my YouTube. I'm telling you, you're not gonna want to be there.
You got like 30,000 views on a video. What you mean?
That's crazy. That's insane. That's insane.
So what types of things do you talk about or do while you're streaming, Veli?
I mean, honestly, man, it get crazy on my streams. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's not touchy. It's very like, I mean, they don't call me Raw Veli for nothing. Like I keep everything like it's out there. Like it can get to some crazy subjects. Anything can happen. One day we might be streaming anime, next day we might be talking about something off the wall that you might not consider PG-13. So somebody might be getting cursed out too. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, cool.
Sounds like my type of watch.
No, I don't got anything. Once again, thank you everybody who gave your thoughts and opinions. Even though, like you said, we might agree to disagree. I still think it was very insightful and still learned a lot, and especially about different perspectives of things. So that was really nice.
Definitely. Everyone, hang on the line for a second. But everyone else, thanks for listening. You heard it from our mouths to your ears. Thanks for tuning in.